Don't forget to like, subscribe, and have out and give me a big thumbs up.
That's the one more piece to mention. All this is run off of a MacBook Pro, Apple Silicon M2 Max.
Okay, so we have one last question for Alan. I just asked him what he prefers recording on and why. So he has Logic, and obviously he just finished explaining that he's running everything through the Mac Pro, but he also has Pro Tools. And is it just Logic and Pro Tools? Anything else?
Ableton for live
Ableton
stuff, yeah.
and Ableton.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what is your preference?
Yeah, so for me now, Logic and Pro Tools essentially can both do it all. They didn't used to be that way. Logic started as basically a computer replacement for the rack MIDI gear. So
Right.
it's basically a computer replacement for digital instruments that existed in the 80s. Pro Tools were started as a computer replacement for the tape machine.
Correct.
And so both have had their strengths, and then slowly Logic started adding stuff that was routing and console and studio and mixing able, and then Pro Tools slowly started adding MIDI and instrument and producing side of things able. And now they both do pretty much all of it, but you still occasionally feel the strengths of one or the other. So for me, when it comes to producing anything creative, crafting sounds, MIDI things, down to things like quantizing drums or tuning vocals, even comping vocals, comping any takes, all those producing tasks are much faster, much more musical in Logic because it feels like an instrument.
Right.
Now, when it comes to mixing and keyboard shortcuts and routing and just kind of the speed of how the software works, for me, Pro Tools is still a bit faster at when I start using outboard gear and when I start summing and mixing through my summing and printing stuff through pedals and whatever else it is. So occasionally, when I'm done producing, I'll bounce to Pro Tools and mix from in there. Sometimes I don't because it takes time to do that. There's still no great way to do it that's quick. So sometimes I end up just staying in Logic. But if it's a project that I don't produce and just mix, then sometimes I'll just go ahead and start it in Pro Tools.
Right.
MTSU, where I went to school, was a Pro Tools only school. And so I learned a lot of keyboard shortcuts, got super quick at it in school. And so for that reason, it still feels more like home, but it just doesn't feel creative. Beat Detective feels like Pac-Man from the 80s compared to quantizing in Logic. So that's an example of how it's just better, I think. They sound the same to me. Some people talk about how they sound different. I don't know about that. One good thing about Logic, too, is it's a lot cheaper. You pay $200 once for it, and it upgrades. It's Apple, so it upgrades with all the OS updates, where Pro Tools is consistently a year behind, consistently having problems, and it crashes.
Yeah.
They can't figure it out. They always copy things, and like Logic had freeze files way before Pro Tools had freeze files, and that's huge when I'm working on a track that has 200-something tracks on it,
Right.
Because of modern production needs. So now Pro Tools has that, but again, they're like a year behind, if not more. So for me, that's the difference. Logic is for producing, Pro Tools is for mixing and routing, and Ableton is for live use because it works really well with speed of playback and talking to other apps that you would use live. So I'll play back live tracks, click guide, all that stuff.
Now, I know you've checked out other stuff as well.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, lots of times they get a free version of
CUBASE
or something.
One,
right.
Yeah, right.
What would you tell people about that?
I would say anything that you find that you like.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I have a producer friend in Nashville that even though all his peers are Logic, Christian music,
right.
He's in Cubase, and he loves it. And it's on a Mac. It's not, some people like PCs even. I have another friend that we worked with there, and he's like an old school Sunhouse Blues type player. And his engineer, who's also in that vibe, they have tons of outboard gear. You think it's this old school, like you would think they wouldn't even have a computer, barely. They have tape. It's that kind of place, that kind of vibe. And they're using Ableton for all their tracking. And I'm like, that's as modern as you could get. So, I think just wherever you feel comfortable, for me, that's probably Logic right now.
Okay, one other question.
Yeah.
So, have you checked out the new Cakewalk?
I have not. Is it on Mac?
Yeah. Oh, wait. No, I take that back. It's only on PC.
Sonar was PC only.
They may. Oh, you know what? I think there's some kind of crack where you can use
yeah.
it, but
Rosetta.
but that's just bizarre. BandLab. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, what's really amazing is that it's free.
Really?
Yeah, it's free. People can actually just go on, download a version of it, and it has tons of instrumentation in it. It's like all you need is a controller and a powerful enough.
Brain.
Yeah, exactly. Technology's just come so far, but listen, I'm kind of with you. As far as like I do most of my stuff in Pro Tools,
Right.
Because I do have Logic, but mostly because of you,
Right, sure.
because you were telling me how cool it was. But I'm so proficient in Pro Tools that I just use it, and that's all I'm doing right now. Is I'm not doing like tons of production or just pre-production. I'm just doing mostly just some basic tracking, and so Pro Tools that's where it is. But I'll probably sometime in the near future have a bunch more questions for you about Logic. So
I still pay the yearly Pro Tools fee.
by the way, do you know what version are you using of Pro Tools?
Whatever's current.
Do you know that they're going back to not doing it yearly?
Really?
They're going. Now this is according to Joey.
Yeah.
And I don't know that for a fact, but he said that they're changing it back to where you don't have to pay the yearly subscription.
Perpetual instead of annual. Yeah.
Which I think is ridiculous. When you buy it, you buy it, Well,
Waves tried, did you see that whole Waves thing? They went to subscription model and made everybody mad. And so then like 2 days later they said, all right, we're going back.
Oh, okay. Well, good. That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, when I got back from the Philippines and I had all kinds of problems with my Pro Tools system.
It's like it died overnight.
It worked. It worked. Right, like perfect. It booted up perfect, but it had been sitting for a while, and so I think I unplugged the USB cable while it was on, and then all of a sudden it corrupted like something in the registry of the hard drive, and it took me like 4 months to get it back up and running. And you know what I did? What? I said, forget this.
Yeah.
I found somebody that basically just sent me. I bought a hard drive with the version of Pro Tools I needed. And it booted right up, but I left the other drive in for all of the software, but all of the plugins and everything. And it was like, and now that's what I'm using.
It works. Hey, it's probably faster too.
It is. And I upgraded, the RAM, and that's all I did. But obviously, Logic is something that I'll start digging into a lot more. But
it works with Apple Silicon well too, because we're on non-Intel chips now. That's how all the new Macs are being made. And they're really, really fast. And the fan, I don't know if I've ever heard the fans come on that thing.
Oh, wow.
Ever. And so it's really fast. And again, Pro Tools took forever to get silicone compatible. So it's Logic for me.
That's awesome. Yeah. Okay, well, Alan, again, thanks. We'll probably post this on maybe even a separate video. So
whatever works.
All right, thanks again, Alan.
Yeah.
All right, we're signing off. Cheers.